And so I said like, hey, you should come. And so she was texting me saying like, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm with a guy who looks like dude with sign. I was like, okay, cool. And we show up and her brother is dude with sign. We were like, oh, you are dude with sign, right? He's like, yeah. But he was just trying not to be like weird about it.
Hi everyone, welcome to They Had Fun. I'm Rachel and I am back with another amazing story about New York City. And first up, you're going to hear from me with some of my hand-selected New York City recommendations for you that hopefully get you excited to go out. And then after that, we will get into our story from a fabulous New Yorker about the most fun they've ever had in New York City. So let's go ahead and get going. As you know, on Fridays in our Instagram, I ask you what recommendations you need in New York City. This week, amongst many things, you asked for a happy hour in Williamsburg. I love that you guys are always coming in with the happy hours. And I think I've mentioned this before. I have a custom Google map of just happy hours in New York City. It's just private now, like mine, but I've got to find some way to share it with you guys. But anyways, this is going to be a relation to an old Rachel's Rec. So what I am recommending today is Bar Blondeau in the Wythe Hotel. Now, avid listeners will know that I once recommended Le Crocodile in the same hotel. Now, Bar Blondeau is the bar that is up on, I think, 6th or 7th floor, and they have a very similar happy hour. And here's the thing. I went to Le Crocodile to go do the happy hour with a friend, and it was absolutely jam-packed. Like, could not get in. So we were like, should we try and go upstairs, go to Bar Blondeau? I have no idea why. Bar Blondeau was less packed. Now, this is the one that is up on a higher floor, that has incredible skyline views, that has a bar looking out straight onto Manhattan. It is so beautiful, so I'm not really sure why the downstairs was more packed. Nonetheless, they have a great happy hour. Top of the billing there is an $11 martini. Okay, so I don't know if you live in New York City if you're listening to this, but if you do live here, you know that martinis generally cost somewhere between $21 to $25. It's sad, but true. We're talking like, I think Wythe Hotel is a 4-star, 5-star hotel. This is their like rooftop bar, and they are bringing you an $11 beautiful martini Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. I'm pretty sure that's it. I'll link to everything. This is an exceptional happy hour in Williamsburg. If you can't get into Le Crocodile, you want something nice, not too crazy fancy, a great price point. They have little snacks too. Bar Blondeau. That is my new Rachel's Rec for In the Wythe. I mean, if you can get into Le Crocodile, you should go to that too. It's a great time. But this week, Bar Blondeau. Okay, next up is my recommendation. And this is funny too, because this has also been another Rachel's Rec previously. But I do think we are reaching the point, like we're going to be on 7 seasons in here. I'm going to have to start repeating some things if I quite enjoy myself. So I had a delicious dinner at Union Pizza Works in Bushwick recently. And I know that I have talked about it before, but before I talked a lot more about like the pizza and the outdoor area. And this was like, I'm bringing you the food, okay? This was the pasta. So here's my thought on this. You go to Bar Blondeau to get in that $11 martini, that view of Manhattan. You jump on the L train, maybe like 5 stops over to Jefferson, and it's less than like a 3-minute walk to Union Pizza Works, and you go have dinner there. You don't have to fight to get a reservation at some cool hotspot in Williamsburg. You don't have to spend a shit ton of money. You go to Union Pizza Works. Now, I went here a few weeks ago, and we were going just to sit at the bar. You guys know the theme. And I walked by this kid, because it was kind of early, so it was people there with the kids, maybe like 5:30 or 6. I walked by this kid eating a bowl of rigatoni that looked so fucking good. And I sit at the bar, and I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh God, it's a special tonight. It's incredible. Like, you have to try it. We weren't even planning on staying for dinner, but I was like, okay, here we go. We got a pizza. We got one of the rigatonis. I can't stop thinking about it. It's not on the regular menu. I'm sorry. Maybe they're going to be bringing it in for spring or something, but everything we had was just so good. If I am going to bring up like one negative, I didn't love the Negroni version. I'm so much more classic when it comes to Negroni, but whatever. They got wine, they got everything. Union Pizza Works, this pasta was so good. And I don't get there as enough as I should. I can walk there from my apartment, so I should be going more often. It deserved to have me bringing it back up for you guys to remind you. Some of our Rachel's Recs, we gotta bring them back every once in a while. It was that good. So why not go check out Rooftop Happy Hour at Bar Blondeau, jump on the L train, head up Union Pizza Works, and then who knows where your night could go from there. That's what we always learn on the show, isn't it? All right, after those Rachel's Recs, let's go ahead and get into my guest for today. Because as we know, She moved to the city recently. She's doing a shit ton of work. Most importantly, is a creative endeavor. We're going to talk about all of those things. So she has been a real estate agent. She has been a social media consultant. But most importantly, she is the founder of a new clothing line called Newcomer, NWCMR, sort of like the acronym Newcomer. And most importantly, we didn't even plan this, but it's so worked out in our favor. She is dropping her pre-launch sale items today. So this Wednesday, right now, you can go to Newcomer's website, linked in the show notes, and you can purchase some of these great designs. I got my eye on them. I really, really think truly you're going to enjoy them. I, of course, want the pizza one for my husband. It's so cute. We're going to hear about all of these things from her today. Please welcome to the show, Megan Keaveny.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here because I am impressed by you. I found you somehow on a hole through social media, doing some sort of video, some sort of content. And then I dug deeper and I saw that you moved here recently. And I saw that you had this one reel in particular that said, doing 3 jobs to try and go for my creative pursuit. And I was like, this is the person I need. Here we are. Welcome to the show. As I said in your intro, we have real estate agent, we have social media consultant, but you're also doing your own clothing brand. These are all of the things that just get me very excited. They get my juices flowing. I get excited for New Yorkers like this. Please tell me any part of all 3 of those things you have your hand in that you would like to talk about.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so flattered by that. I was just going to work like in bars where I did that in Chicago. I lived there before here. And I was like, I'll just work in the service industry again while I just fund this whole thing myself. And I ended up doing real estate, which I used to do in Texas. I was like really, really good at it. And it's rocked me a bit. I still do real estate. I do some social media consulting on the side, but really the goal is just to launch this creative side project that has really like shocked me how hard it's been to get the gall to just do.
Oh my God. This is to me, I'm like, get the goal. I'm like, I feel like you got it. Like I asked you to be on a podcast and you're like, let's do it. I'm like, do you want to talk about this creative endeavor? You're like, yes, I do. Like that. I think some people work so hard on that for so long. And I'm always impressed by these people who are willing to take one step in any direction to do something that maybe scares them, or also is just kind of like a creative thing, which can kind of be hard for people.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable. Yes, totally. And whether you're new or saged for many years, you find all these other avenues to like keep this thing going. And I think it's interesting. We already got a little bit from you. We've got Chicago, we've got Texas. I'm sure we're going to get into all of those things in a little bit. But, you know, we're hearing that you were like, okay, I'm going to try real estate. I was going to do this other thing. And then you're like, it rocked me a bit. I'm guessing, does that just have to do with that the New York market is absolutely fucking ridiculous, or are you just making gobs of money and you didn't see that coming?
No, I mean, I had a lot of success like right when I moved here. That was kind of felt a little bit like luck. I was going to work in bars, but then I was talking to a broker when I was trying to find a place. We just like got to chatting and I was like, listen, I used to do real estate in Texas. I'm not going to like waste your time. I'm looking for someone to just answer this and this and this question. And she was like, well, have you thought about doing real estate in New York? And I was like, oh my God, no, I like don't know anything about New York. She was like, you should come work for my brokerage. You can learn everything. And I was like, I don't know. But I just interviewed and got the job and it took like months to get my license. So I said like, well, why don't I do social media for y'all? Y'all should have a TikTok. No one's doing TikTok in real estate. They just let me run with it and it blew up and went pretty viral. And I got a buyer from TikTok, a complete stranger, just saw the TikToks. We would get a lot of leads of people who wanted to like rent places. But this girl was saying, yeah, like we might rent something. And this was the day my license actually was valid and I could take the leads because I had to pass the TikTok leads out. But the second call I took was that night. And she's like, well, if we rent something, we might do this and this. I was like a $4,000 2-bedroom lead, which I didn't really bat an eye at. I was like, okay, yeah. And then she's like, but you know, that's if we rent. I was like, okay, well, are you thinking about buying something? And she said, well, my father might buy me something if we find like this and that. And I was like, okay, this girl sounds rich. And so I was like, okay, tell me more about that. Turns out her dad was worth like $50 million. Oh
my God.
And she bought a $2.5 million condo and I pulled the whole thing off and it was my first sale of my life.
Okay, so it was the latter of what I said. You didn't
Yeah.
just make a shit ton of money right at the
I
front.
did. Well, at first, like that happened, and I was like, "Oh no!" That was so easy and crazy luck. Like one of my mentors, who helped me through the whole transaction, and he was like, "Hey, a lot of people are going to tell you that was like just luck. It was luck for sure, but don't believe that that was all of it. Like you definitely did this and this."
Yeah.
But then I knew it made me nervous because I knew that like that was so easy, and nothing else was going to be that easy. And I was right. Everything else has been pretty hard since then.
I'm glad that someone said that to you. Sure, whatever. There's luck, there's serendipity, there's hope, there's whatever. But I think there's a bit that's like, yeah, maybe you got a little bit of luck there, but like you made it happen. You decided to start TikTok. You got the real estate license. And I have to say, I just love hearing, most people's coming to New York is like bullshit, drudgery, 6 apartments, shitty roommates, stepping in shit, no money, people spending on it, like whatever. And you're like, and I sold a $2 million apartment. It's great to hear that.
That was cool, but there was tons of shit in between that. Like my first 2 months in New York, like really knocked me on my ass for a minute. And I just was like, oh, holy shit, this is so much harder and more expensive than I thought it was going to be. So that was like a really great win for my spirit, but also for my wallet. That money ran out and it was time to keep those deals coming. And it's been a challenge.
Listen, you're making it work. And I think you got to get a win every once in a while. And you got one maybe at the beginning, and that's great. And then we learn a little bit from there. Things get a little bit harder and things can be wonderful 1 second and downright shit the next, but you're finding a way to make it work. And we're not even into the regular questions yet, but let's talk a little bit about Newcomer if you're open to talk about it. This is your clothing brand, clothing line, etc. Tell us a little bit about why you started this. What's going on with that? What can we expect?
It's a streetwear line of hats and hoodies right now. This is one of the hats. It says, "What's your dog's name?"
Cute.
And I just wanted to put things on hats that have helped me really digging deeper into my mental health. Like what kind of things are hard for me? How can I accept those things are hard for me and work through them? So you would never think that a hat that says, "What's your dog's name?" has anything to do with mental health. But for me, like when I feel like I can't leave the house or I'm just like overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I can't do anything. Like I just will get myself to leave. And if I can get myself to like ask a stranger, "What's your dog's name?" Like sometimes it kind of bombs and people are like, "What? No." But more times than not, I get to meet their dog and it's just a like really pleasant interaction. It just helps me kind of feel like myself again. So for me, it's a reminder deep down that like I always have access to things that can kind of pull me out when I feel stuck.
That you're finding a way to bring that element. How can I make this better? How can I create out of this? How can I turn this into something for myself? How can I bring these together? It's what makes New Yorkers so fucking interesting and passionate. And yeah, it's a fucking hat that strikes up a conversation and you get to talk to someone. And because we're in New York and because this is my show, you get to talk to a New Yorker and you get to talk to someone on the street and you get to hear about their day. And everyone who lives here knows those little interactions change everything, whether they're 30 seconds at the dog park, they're 5 minutes on a subway where you sit next to someone, whatever it is, we don't get them often enough, but we do get them. And I love that you're pulling all of that together, not only for fun and clothing, but for the greater good of you. And that is awesome.
Dude, thank you. The whole slogan of the brand is "Go where you see yourself," even if it means being the newcomer. New York was overwhelmed me a lot. When I first got here, I just was like, whoa, everything's so fast. And finally now I'm like, you know what? Like this is really what I want to do, but it's vulnerable to put it out there. But I think it's just gonna be fun and like a cool thing to put out into the world. It's kind of a healing thing to put it out there.
Very healing. And it is cool that you're doing it. I love it. Speaking of being a newcomer, I have this transition so ripe for the picking. I have to utilize it. I'm sorry. But speaking of being a newcomer, why don't we talk a bit about our first question of the show? And that is, of course, when did you move to New York?
I moved December 1st of 2021. I love that day so much.
Tell me about the day, because this is oftentimes when I talk to people about when did you move to New York, we kind of say the day and then we'll kind of move on or they'll talk about why they came. I always kind of secretly hope that when I ask that question, people will be like, I remember when I landed and this is how I got to the apartment. Like, do you have something like that?
Oh my God, it is burned in my brain. I moved with just 6 suitcases. For whatever reason, I was checking into my one-way flight and I was like, I need to check these 3 bags. And like my card was not working. But I was like, listen, I swear there's money on this. I'm not moving. Like I panicked. I was like, no. And we never figured it out. I had to go buy a Southwest gift card at this little thing and use the gift card to pay for the luggage. It was like very chaotic. I almost missed my flight. Then I landed and I was staying with my friend's sister in Bushwick for my first month. And like, I finally get there and I was like, my skin hurts. Like like when your eyeballs hurt, your skin feels weird. Like you feel like, I just don't feel so good. And I had stressed myself out so much, like packing my whole life up and just got myself stress sick. So I realized I had a fever, get to the apartment, and it's like the most daunting 40 stairs that I look up to get to her place. No one's home.
With 6 bags.
I have to lug all 6 of them up, and I just collapsed into 101-degree fever and was sick for a couple days. But then I finally came to and found my way slowly.
Not exactly the warm welcome you were hoping for. So everyone at the beginning who's kind of like, this bitch made $1 million, not $1 million, but made a bunch of like, okay, listen, there was a lot of other shit that we always talk about. You got here the first day you were sick, you didn't know if you were going to make it. And this is something that's going to kind of play into the next question, but I thought was interesting when we first started talking. I just thought you were like early 20s or something. And then we met at the party that they had fun finale party. And you were like, no, I'm 32. We're going to see as more of these episodes go on and I talk with more people. I don't think that's going to be the most common age. So I think that's interesting. Let's get into the second question, because I'm sure this is all going to come together, is why did you move to New York?
Dude, like I had never even been to New York City. Whenever I played Never Have I Ever, my interesting fact used to be like, I've never been to New York. And everyone would put their finger down. They're like, how have you never been to New York City?
Oh my God, what?
I don't even have like an explanation for it. I just never had. TV shows and movies, like I didn't really connect to that because in that context felt like just such a fictional place. But it was like through stories of people I knew who moved there, kind of just acquaintances. And I would see stories, and I read Andy Cohen's book, the Andy Cohen Diaries.
Oh,
that was his second book. I would attribute more than not like his book to moving here, because that was the first time I heard like just like day in and day out encounters and what it was really like to live here. And I was like, oh my God, this place sounds awesome. Because in Texas and California is where I mostly grew up. And all I ever heard about New York City was like people shitting on it, being like, oh, I could never live there. And then when I read his book, I was like, this place sounds dope. Y'all sound like haters.
Oh.
Just, it felt like a place where a lot of creatives were, and the energy of it felt really interesting. And so I came up here summer of 2021 just to like feel it out and like, let me just make sure. And when you go to a city and you feel like you can figure it out in a weekend to be like, yeah, oh my God, I could totally live here. But you really feel like you have the lay of the land.
Yeah.
I did not feel like I had the lay of the land at all. I was so overwhelmed and was like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I barely covered anything. I have to come back to figure this out. And I never looked back.
So great. What a cool personality trait to have, to be like, I do not have this under control. Let's do it. I think that's awesome. It's really also the complete opposite of most people we ever talk to on the show. It's the dream from movies. It's the dream from TV shows from a young age of this city. And you always kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't seem real. And the thing that's interesting to me is like Andy Cohen's book of I don't know, I haven't read it, but I obviously know him quite well. He's also a huge New Yorker. Andy, if you're listening to this, I'd love to have you on the show. But I love that, his kind of day in and day out life of what it means to be a real New Yorker, walking around the streets. He seems so cool of like running into people on the subway, taking pictures, eating at restaurants that we all go to. Like he seems like a true New Yorker. There's a handful of people that are on my list of like, these are the dream guests. He's one of them. He feels like someone who loves the city so much. So I love that you read that book and you're like, wait, this is what day-to-day life in New York City is like. And I want to be a part of that.
Fantasy of what it looks like in movies and TV. Like, I mean, there's so many movies and shows. A lot of people have said like, did you move here because of Sex and the City? And I'm like, no, not at all.
Guilty as charged. Okay, so I love hearing all of these things about you. I love the creativity. I love the reasons you come.
Honestly, my age was a big part of it. New York was always kind of like, since my younger 20s, I was like, I'll end up there eventually. But when I turned 30, I was like, you know what? I'm either there's a window and it's going to close at some point. And if I don't go, I will then one day have to be like, I guess I'll never know what would have happened. And that I was like, oh, I definitely can't handle that.
Can't live with that. Yeah, I'm saying it's just like, this is my hope all the time. If you hear this episode right now with Megan, move to New York City. It's always a good idea. It's going to be hard. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be life-changing. Move to New York City. All right. Megan, we're just going to have to meet up for a drink at some point after this. Okay, I have to ask you the most important question of the show. And that is, of course, Megan, what is the most fun you've ever had in New York City?
Okay, honestly, it was right around the time that I had that TikTok deal happening. Like right after I moved here, My ass was kicked for weeks on end. I cried on the sidewalk like so many times,
Aw.
but still was like, I'm here, but like at what cost? And right around the time I started to embrace that, like, this is going to be hard, but I want to be here, just a lot of things opened up all at once. So the TikTok thing was happening, and I met a guy 2 days before I was even going to go meet that TikTok buyer and all this stuff, but started dating this guy, and we were like maybe a month into dating. And it was St. Patrick's Day. I was like, oh, I mean, it's a Thursday night. I have a big day tomorrow. I was getting an IUD the next morning because I was in a new relationship and was not on birth control. I was very nervous about it. And I was just like tired from work. I was like, I'm not going to go out tonight. But then
Ugh.
I met my friends one drink. I said, okay, I'm coming for one just to meet some guy one of the girls was dating.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then Piece of Me by Britney Spears came on and like changed the trajectory of my evening at like an Irish pub. It just came on and electrified me. The night turned into me meeting up with my friends and this new guy's friends. And it was just like a proper night. And we all went out, really sent it. And I had that IUD appointment the next morning in Brooklyn, and I was so scared. So the next morning I had the new guy I was dating come to Brooklyn with me. He didn't like come to the appointment, but he came to Brooklyn with me, and we, went and got coffee after. And I was just very fragile from the experience. And I was thinking I was going to be out like all day, just not well, but we were going to go to like a spa afterwards. But I got out and was just like, I felt good. Like that was not as bad as the other times I've had it. And I think let's just go have a day. Sun came out. Everyone was getting together at this rooftop at our friend's place. So I was in like a combination of my outfit from the night before and some of his clothes. I wore his shoes to the appointment. It was a really bootleg morning. So like, we went shopping around Soho. I got a new little outfit at Aloe and just kind of bopped around. And then we biked over to Brooklyn to this rooftop party. And I lived in Williamsburg at that point. I moved in with like two 20-year-olds. I was like, I know I'm older than y'all, but I promise I'm cool. And it turns out the rooftop party was at the building right next to me, which was really wild and so random.
Yeah.
And it was like his friends' friends. So some of his best friends were there, but it was just this big group. Some of the girls I met that day are still some of my closest friends in New York. Felt like anonymous enough that I could really spill the tea and be like, okay, I'm dating this new guy. And like, I think I'm falling in love with him. And it was just like such a fun day. And then the first night we ever hung out, we went to an LPGOB concert in Brooklyn and then went back to his place. And we were watching like DJ sets on YouTube till 5 a.m. We were watching James Hype's set in DC. And he was like, I have tickets to this guy in a couple weeks. You should come. So this was that night. It was like 8 o'clock, rooftop party's winding down, but I knew the show wasn't starting till midnight at least. And I was like, I'm going to have a headache. I'm not going to be fun to be around in a couple of hours, like drinking all day. So I was just like, hey, like I live a couple blocks away. I'm going to go back to my place and just like take a nap. I'll come meet y'all out. And they were all like, no. Cause I guess they thought I was bailing. They're like, no. Just like, we have a bedroom upstairs. Like, do you want to just sleep up there and take like a nap? And it's totally like, it's really comfortable and fine. And like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I guess so. One of the girls was with us who's really close with, I'm still dating this guy. We've been together for like 2 years.
I was like, wait, I'm like, what's going to happen with this? Okay, got it.
Yeah, spoiler. And one of his good girlfriends kind of pulled me aside at one point in the night. And she was like, he like thought that was so hot that you just did what you had to do to take care of yourself. I was like, wow, never in my life did I think that. And it's taken me so many years of trials and tribulations to be like, yeah, if I drink all day and then keep going out at night without a break, things don't end well. So I finally was like, nope, yeah. And he just thought that was like really attractive. And that was like a random, unexpected surprise.
Throw an IUD in the mix of all of it. And who knows what could have happened.
I had basically a surgery that morning.
Yeah, Jesus.
And then we were going to the show. My really good friend from home connected me with her good friend from home who had just moved to New York at the same time. We hadn't even met yet, but I was like, hey, I think we like the same kind of music. We're going to go to the show if you want to come.
And where's the show?
Szymanski in Williamsburg. It's kind of like a dungeony ravey.
Ah, okay.
And so I said like, hey, you should come. And so she was texting me saying like, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm with a guy who looks like dude with sign. I was like, okay, cool. And we show up and her brother is dude with sign. We were like, oh, you are dude with sign, right? He's like, yeah. But he was just trying not to be like weird about it. And he was really, really cool. I've seen him around the city a couple times since then. He's like a really nice guy. And it was just like such a fun, perfect day. It was just really cool that like so many things opened up and that whole night was just the whole day was just like, wow, okay, this has been hard as fuck, but I'm glad I did it. And there's going to be so much good that comes from this. And that was when I really started to believe, like, I'm glad I trusted myself to do something that didn't make any sense because it made sense to me. And like that whole day was just one of my favorite days in New York.
Oh, I love that. It's like proof that it's all worth it when you just have so much fun. And I got to say, I mean, you were starting us off like the night before and I'm thinking like, oh my God, where's this going? And then we're like in the next day and then it's like, and I'm going to the doctor, like, where's this going? And then you're like, then we went to this house and then I took a nap and then we went, I mean, there's like so many levels of like, but every element, maybe not the IUD part of it was super fun, but like that you came out and you're like, you know what? I think I'm okay. Like, let's fucking do this.
Yes.
Different neighborhoods, the biking around, just being like, I'll just go buy new clothes. Like, I think so many of us know those days so well of having been out and we're all ending with, you still are with the boy.
Yes.
Aww.
It was really one of our first just huge nights out together. And like, when you're so new with someone, I mean, I had no idea really at the time that I was with his closest friends.
I mean, he knew it was something was up and you guys are still together because he wouldn't have brought you around if he didn't know it was going to work out. And I don't know, I have to like rack my brain. We're so many episodes in, but I'm kind of like, I don't feel like we have had many, no, there's been a couple, but we haven't had many just like young love, you know, things. We've had a few of them, but like that you guys are still together. But like, I know what those dates feel like where you're just having such a good time. It is the best city in the world to have a first date. I don't know, maybe not for everyone, but for someone like me, maybe someone like you, when you just keep saying yes to every turn and you're just like,
gorgeous.
Yeah, this, and now we wound up here. And then we do this. It is it's like one of the best things about this city. And I just know I love this story so much. It's so cute. It's so fun. Young love, always saying yes. So many things we love on the show. I love that story. I have to ask you my last question of the show. And that is, what is your favorite thing about New York City?
Really, my favorite part is just that different is the default here. Like being, quote, different in other cities really just draws a lot of more attention because there's much more of a norm. Like different is just everywhere here.
Yeah.
Like I love that there is no real benchmark for this is how New York City is supposed to go. Like it really does get better when you embrace your own pattern instead of trying to fit into the pattern everyone else is doing. I think that everyone's a lot more open because again, there is no like benchmark for who a person should be and what a life should look like. I just like there's a lot more creative outlook on how a life can go.
The wisdom you have brought to today's episode. I really appreciate it because I've never heard anyone say that phrase before. Different is the default. Yeah, I love that. And it's true. It's your own way of saying what we always kind of talk about with the people in this city. You know, you come here to find your people. You come here to be yourself. You come here to do whatever you want, whatever those things are for whoever you are. Different is the default. Megan, thank you so much for being on the show, for talking about all these great things, for being honest about mental health, for telling us a really cute, fun story, for everything. I can't wait for everyone to check out Newcomer. I got to get my hand on a hat or something. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Most of all, thanks, New York. They had fun.